You know, on this channel, I cover these left-wing woke district attorneys, these people that are backed by Soros-affiliated organizations that you could find on Sean King's website, Real Justice PAC, because these people do an insane amount of damage to this country. However, the worst district attorney by far and away right now is not Larry Krasner, who has brought Philadelphia murders to all-time highs in terms of raw numbers and back to 1990s levels in terms of per capita numbers, but it's actually Pamela Price, because Pamela Price repeatedly, over and over again, has shown us that she doesn't give a damn about victims. But to make matters worse, she's also perfectly comfortable with aiding and abetting the super predator, helping them out in every possible way, and that even comes to fruition when we're talking about people who have committed and are linked to multiple different murders. We famously covered the story of somebody who committed 3 separate murders, Pamela Price offering him a sweetheart deal, the judge finding that deal ridiculous, and Pamela Price essentially pledging to do a ridiculous judicial maneuver in order to prevent that judge from hearing any cases in the county due to the fact that he wouldn't get on board with Pamela Price's soft on crime, show affection for the triple murderer type of mentality. Well, now we have another case, a 30-year-old Asian man who was shot and killed in a road rage incident. The suspect was 17 at the time, and Pamela Price refused to charge him as an adult because, I don't know if you're aware of this, a 17-year-old, according to Pamela Price, is essentially akin to a baby. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over my website, actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform.
The pain of losing their son seemed too much to bear. And then came the decision from the district attorney on how to charge the shooter who killed him in an apparent fit of road rage. And tonight, an Alameda County couple tells Betty U they feel victimized all over again.
So I really like the way the local news described this and described what the family was saying, because it's 100% accurate. You have a family that was victimized in that they lost their 30-year-old son in a pointless road rage type of incident. You have a district attorney who decided that the criminal takes priority over their son and essentially re-victimizes the family again by refusing to charge this 17-year-old repeat offender with multiple gun charges, ties to 2 other murders as an adult, and this guy gets an incredibly light sentence, and you're not going to believe how soon this monster can be back out on the streets.
This video of Reinhard Asuncion enjoying a vacation in the Philippines was taken about 3 months before he was gunned down. The 30-year-old San Lorenzo resident and newlywed was murdered in September last year after he got into an argument with people in the car next to him, according to the Alameda County Sheriff's Office.
So here we have a guy in his 30s, back from a vacation in the Philippines. He gets into an argument. By the way, don't get into road rage. It's stupid. It always ends badly. It's never worth it. With a career criminal at the age of 17 who was in a stolen vehicle. The person, of course, who has repeated gun charges, has committed these types of crimes over and over and over again, decides to escalate this argument beyond all bounds of reason and shoots him dead, then takes off in a vehicle, and now we're left with a good person, a hardworking person, a person who, by the way, was recently married, on his way to start his life with his new wife, end up being gunned down in the streets over it.
The shooter, who took off in a stolen car, was later identified as 17-year-old Sergio Morales Jaquez. The sheriff's office said he was already in custody for unrelated gun charges at the Juvenile Justice Center. He's also linked to 2 other murders as a person of interest.
Now, by the time they figured out that this 17-year-old was the perpetrator in this murder, they actually already had him in custody for unrelated gun charges. And again, he's a person of interest, probably likely soon to be upgraded to a suspect in 2 other homicides. So this seemed like the perfect opportunity to get some justice for this family and to crack down on a repeat offender. But what did Pamela Price do? You already know the answer to that, and it's horrible.
We are so scared. My family is so scared, but I need to reach out this.
Reinhardt's mother, Anna Tolentino, spoke through tears as she sat next to her husband and Reinhardt's stepdad, Felix. They recently learned in court that the suspect, now 18, was sentenced to 7 years, but he could be afforded probation sooner. The sheriff wrote on its Facebook page that a petition was submitted to Alameda County District Attorney Pamela Price's office to have the suspect charged as an adult based on his violent criminal criminal history. Unfortunately, that petition was denied, and Morales Jaquez was charged as a juvenile.
So let's get this straight so you guys can understand it. You have a guy, repeat offender, already in custody due to the fact that he already had firearm-related charges. He gets arrested at age 17. Trial goes through by the time that he's an adult. However, Pamela Price refused to charge him as an adult, and he only ended up getting a sentence of 7 years. To make matters worse, in the state of California, as we've covered on this channel a ridiculous number of times, if you're in jail awaiting trial, each of your days in jail while you're awaiting your trial counts as double. So this guy already has a bunch of his time credited to him and shaved off a little more than a year going into his sentence for the murder during a road rage while he was in a stolen car, because Pamela Price didn't want to charge him with a necessary enhancement to charge him as an adult when he definitely deserved to be charged in that way. On top of that, since California has overcrowded prison populations, and since you don't actually serve your full sentence, you usually serve around half to 2/3, we're looking at a total net sentence of likely 2.5 years from the point where he was convicted, based on his double time and the fact that he really only has to reach the 50% threshold. So for 3.5 years total, this guy will be held in jail for a murder when we know he's connected to 2 murders, was in a stolen car, so that should be a felony grand theft auto, and had an illegal firearm. Not just because he was already a felon, but because he was the age of 17 and he had already committed multiple different crimes related with firearms.
So unfair. I feel sad that this case is only at 7 years. They protect the criminals. I'm a victim here. I'm reaching out to Pamela Price, the district attorney, to help and protect the victim.
So the mother is speaking truth right there. She is the victim of this, not just because she lost her son, but because Pamela Price refused to pursue justice for the loss of her son. Also, there are other victims here, the other people that will be impacted by this monster's life, who will likely be released before or in and around the age of 21 to reoffend and commit additional crimes because nobody tried to stop him. Again, he has 2 potential other murder charges that should have been factored in Pamela Price's mind, at least get him on this one that for sure you could lock him in order to make sure he doesn't get off or get the benefit of getting off on those other charges.
Pamela Price, a progressive prosecutor, has faced criticism for pursuing lenient sentencing. She ran on a platform to end mass incarceration and committed to stop over-criminalizing youth. Specifically, she promised to stop charging youth under 18 as adults.
Yeah, Pamela Price made her platform quite clear when she was running for district attorney. Now, residents in Oakland have been raging against her. There's a recall petition in the works, and hopefully she gets removed from office. But a lot of them did not realize that when she said she was going to reduce the amount of under 18 she's going to charge as an adult, that included people who were months away from their 18th birthday that she's going to treat like a baby. She basically is making the case that this guy who committed this crime 3 months before he turned 18 is an innocent angel baby, and he couldn't understand the consequences of his actions, and she holds that true for murderers. A lot of people change what you can charge kids as adults for, and when I say kids, I use that term quite loosely, on certain crimes, but they reserve the right to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law, especially when the crime is murder, especially when the guy has potentially 3 bodies under his belt, especially when he fled in a stolen car committing another felony, when he has the firearm, all these other things. This guy is clearly and obviously a danger to society. He's shooting off based on a road rage incident when he's already in a stolen car, but Pamela Price thinks he's a baby.
This is look like he slapped in his face, like, hey, you're done. This no right justice.
Anna said the suspect emptied the entire clip on her son at the intersection of Llewellyn and Hesperian Boulevards. Reinhardt had stepped out of the car and was unarmed. She says he was proud to work at Tesla on the assembly line and enjoyed the outdoors.
So again, I need to emphasize that you should not step out of the car for a road rage incident. Whatever the problem is, it is not worth it. It only leads to terrible results. But did you hear that? The 17-year-old fired every single bullet in the magazine at this person. Every single one. This was an execution. This was an intentional act of murder, and he got 7 years for it. The equivalent, by the way, of around 3.5 years, if that much, of time served will likely be all he faces for a brutal murder in the streets over a petty road rage incident. And again, I need to emphasize, 2 additional murders this person is tied to. He might be a killer of 2 additional people, and Pamela Price went soft. And by the way, because he was underage for those murders, Pamela Price will probably be like, well, we gotta charge him as an even bigger baby because he was probably younger in those instances.
I'm reaching out because nobody gonna pay attention with this case. You know, because a lot of criminal murder, they can do this.
So I actually only watched about half of this local news video before starting to shoot this video, before deciding to do the story. So I didn't see the mother's reaction right there, that breaking point where she loses her breath and talking about how she just wants people to know about her son. Obviously, incredibly powerful right there. And yes, we should all know about her son, this Tesla worker who didn't seem to do anything wrong throughout his whole entire life, got married, was really genuinely starting his life, starting a new chapter in his life, potentially was going to bring this woman grandchildren, and unfortunately he was killed in a ridiculous incident by somebody who should have been off the streets. And even after the murder, Pamela Price refused to do what was necessary to make sure he never saw the light of day again. This was a violent murderer, a horrific person, and he's gonna be out on the streets, back in Alameda County, back in Oakland, in just a couple of years. In fact, if Pamela Price had it her way, this guy would probably be released immediately.
Oh my gosh, you just heard that mom and how frustrated and angry and just desperate she felt in her voice. I mean, we've done a lot of interviews like this, Betty, and that was just really hard to hear. And
I mean, the mother even shook up the local news reporters. And the thing is, this is going to be ongoing until Pamela Price is recalled. This is going to be ongoing until she is removed from that office and thrown basically out of the state, out of the county at least. You gotta have some consequences. They should bring back exile and hold Pamela Price to account. This is somebody who should have never been elected to this position of power. She's done so much damage in just the 8 months that she's been in office. It's kind of insane how much of an impact this one position has actually had. And people have to do something about it. They have to step up. They have to stand up. They have to stand up for the victims and realize that Pamela Price is aligned with the perpetrators. That's who she speaks to. And again, after all these campaigns about anti-Asian hate and whatnot, no action on this. It's just ignored by the same people who are pushing that when they could blame it on the evil white racist Trump supporters. In this specific instance, we have a Latino person as the perpetrator, but again, it just seems like they only care about anti-Asian attacks when they're committed by white people. So an insult, some harassing language, that's considered a big deal. But this murder among potentially 3 murders, slap on the wrist. Don't worry about it. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Pamela Price failing again or succeeding by her own metrics in backing the criminal. Till next time.